Hello, and welcome to Talking Toddlers, where I share more than just tips and tricks on how to reduce tantrums or build your toddler's vocabulary. We're going to cover all of that, I assure you. But here, our goal is to develop clarity, because in this modern world, it's truly overwhelming, especially during these past 2 years. This podcast is about empowering moms to know the difference between fact and fiction, to never give up, to tap into everyday activities so your child stays on track. He's not falling behind, he's thriving through your guidance. We know that true learning starts at home, and Talking Toddlers, this podcast helps you develop that with clarity, confidence, and clear communication. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Talking Toddlers. I'm Erin Heyer, your host from Higher Learning. And this episode is a continuation from last week. So we started the 12 easy tips to increase talking and listening with your toddlers at home every day with your guidance. So in a nutshell, it starts with you, mom, dad. As I said, at home. Remember, some of my mantras are brains are built, not born. Our babies, our toddlers are still under construction when they come into this world in your beautiful arms, and that you are your babies, your toddlers' first teacher and first most critical influencer. So are you ready? Take charge. You've got this, and let's continue. So last week, as I said, we started with 12 easy tips to help increase your toddler's talking and listening at home. You don't wait, no matter where you are as we come out of this pandemic, as we come out of lockdowns, as we come out of social isolation. You and your baby are a team. You and your family are a beautiful unit, and you are at the helm. So, last week, we started with number 1, talking about modeling or narrating your day with your baby, with your toddler. And where did that all come from? I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, as I mentioned last week, but it came from a 1990-95 study called, well, the nickname is 30 million word gap. But 27 years later, in today's time, we're beginning to challenge that. We're beginning to look at that and look at its weaknesses, but also understand that it's still true. Parents need to engage, and they need to help wire that neural network, that brain that can build language, build human communication, and build engagement. So this modern day world makes it very challenging to raise our kids. Yes, there are a lot of modern conveniences. You and I both know that I talk about here. But at the same time, it's hard to let kids be kids. It's hard to trust your own instincts because we have all of these quote unquote tools and gadgets and, plastic toys and battery operated devices, and it's complicated. And how do we navigate without feeling like you're being a bad parent, or without being judged, or without even criticizing yourself, right? You've never done this before, or maybe this is your second or your third child, but I think every child experience is different. So be mindful, be present, be cognizant, be purposeful, all of those be connected to your role as a parent. So number 2 from last week was put technology away. I know. It's hard. It's hard to hear. It's hard to swallow. It's even hard for me to say because I know the pushback. I get it. 22 years ago when I had my baby, and we said, oh, we're just not going to do TV. That's 22 years ago. We barely had mobile phones, right? So we were judged, we were laughed at, we were called names, literally, by our friends and family, and thought that we were crazy. We thought it was worth it. I understood how human connection, language and learning, and motor development is so important in those first 3, 5, 6 years. But 22 years later, now in 1922, in 2022, that was funny. And 2022, as we begin to get ready to enter 2023, when we hear the term all in moderation, I think that becomes a very slippery slope and is really hard to measure. What the heck does moderation mean, right? My moderation, say, for example, sugar, is, once or twice a month. Your moderation might be once or twice a week. The lady down the road moderation for sugar might be, okay, not after every meal, but certainly, after dinner. So all of the terms that we use become very, very context related. So keep that in mind especially when we're talking about technology. So my recommendation is to use technology purposefully, especially if you have more than one child. Then you have to use it as a tool to help you get through your routines, to get through your duties for the day as a parent, as a housekeeper, a homekeeper, right? You're working with your partner as a family unit. It's not like the traditional housekeeper kind of term. I'm just using it. How do you integrate, whether you're professional working outside of the house, or you're working, remotely in the house, you're still juggling many, 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 many responsibilities. So technology always needs to be purposeful and strategic. And be courageous, Mom. Be courageous, Dad, that under 3, it is not healthy for your child. I know it's hard to hear. I know it's hard to swallow, like I said, but let's look at the big picture. What's our long-range goal? We want kids to be healthy, engaged, interactive, creative, independent, curious, thoughtful. It also is a big inhibitor with sleep cycles. So sleep is so critical throughout our whole entire life, but especially in those early years. Well, I'm not even going to clarify that, but it is important throughout our entire life, period. From the day that we're born till we no longer take a breath in this world. But sleep affects our moods, self-regulation, attention, patience. You know this and I know this. When we have a crappy night's sleep or we are woken up again, being a new mom, how do you feel? You feel less present, less receptive to learning, less patient with yourself and with others. And it becomes this kind of catch-22, right? We reach for more caffeine or we reach for easy digestible food that doesn't feed our brain. And so technology can be used later on, perhaps when they're 4 or 5 or 6, but share it with them. Use it again as a facilitating tool to ask questions, or maybe connect it with a book that you're reading, or learn and expand upon something that you've done. Say you went for a hike and you saw some fish, and then you can look at them online. I mean, I've done this with a wide range of kids that are, say 6 or 7 and just beginning to break that code to literacy. And we read a little story about, this spider or a person or an athlete or something or piece of history. And then we look at it online, right? And we gather more information. You can expand the conversation, expand the learning process through technology, but it should not be the quick fix and kind of drug that it becomes. And so also I'm going to keep, honing in on this. Consider after the third birthday. Just consider it. Okay. So we'll move on, adding to our list of 12 with number 3, new for this episode. Don't make everything accessible. And what do I mean by that? One of the first questions that I'll ask parents is, how does your child get his or her needs known? And how do they, in other words, communicate their needs or their wants? And typically, especially a parent of a 1, 2, 3, even 4-year-old, well, I just get it for them. Or the child becomes pretty savvy and figures it out themselves. So part of this early child development is helping kids buy into verbal communication, buy into the system of relating to others, and then feeling the power it has behind itself. In other words, for example, you could place their favorite cup still in visual sight, but high up, so they can't reach it. And they then have to somehow communicate with you what they need. And you could also then give them the cup and then sit down and act as if you're going to proceed with your snack or your dinner or whatever. But the cup is empty. And don't always just give it to them and entice them to express themselves. And yes, in the beginning, pointing, grunting, groaning are all pre-vocalizations, pre-communications. Actually, they're true communications, right? They're verbal and nonverbal forms of communication. But then we have to model it for them. Oh, the cup is empty. And you shake it upside down and maybe you look at it inside and you're like, what should I do? And you kind of play helpless. And they're looking at you like, come on, Mom, But you're enticing them to get involved, to get engaged. And then you model for them how to think out loud and then how to problem solve. Oh, you're thirsty. And when we're thirsty, we need some water. And you look around the room and you think, where the heck is the water? Oh, yes, it's in the water faucet, or it's, in the fridge, wherever you keep your water, right? And you have this conversation, you're thinking out loud, you're modeling for them that everything isn't always just magically appearing or at your fingertips, that it's a process. You ask for something or you inquire and you engage with others in the process. Now, quite often, what I explain to parents is that, especially when they're 15 months, 20 months, 30 months, they're really well loved. They're comfortable. You're a good mom. You're a good dad. It's a good family. You work really hard at helping them feel welcomed in this world, right? And nurtured. But their needs are easily met. Right? They're clean, they're dry, they're fed, they're protected, they're happy, they're engaged. Well, sort of engaged. We'll see. But there's no worries, right? But so we need to set up their environment to entice them to struggle a little, to work, to put in some effort, to realize that striving for something or to experience some kind of desire, to work at it. Because you also know that by 2, they become very, very independent, but they're still kind of, clustering things up, right? They're just a mess. They can't really put their clothes on and they can't really pour the water, but they're going to try. And so you have enticed them to want to work at something. Well, we also have to do that with verbal communication and to help them understand that they're going to get a lot more in this world and much more efficiently if they verbally communicate and share and engaged. And so it's a process, and they begin to appreciate their ability to contribute and be part of the process. And we'll talk more about it. But don't make everything easily accessible. And I've done this hundreds of times with families, to rearrange the kitchen, right? That opening the cupboard door and getting, a snack, quote unquote, again, highly processed foods. And that's for another episode, but shouldn't be just at their fingertips, that they need to ask. And then you need to decide whether it's time to eat and help them set up boundaries. Yes, honey, you can have something at dinner time. It's going to be ready in 20 minutes. You want to come over here and help me? Help me, put some, vegetables on the plate, or here, put the napkins on the table, and help them be a part of this everyday process. And we'll talk about that because that's on our list too. But don't make everything easily accessible to them. Okay. Number 4. Include your kids in everyday routines, just like I started to explain with number 3, that kids love to be involved with all the grown-up activities. And if you have a toddler at home, you know this. They're a healthy, thriving toddler are under your feet, right? And they're in it with you, and they're getting in your way, and it's driving you crazy. But that's what you want. You want a toddler who's interested in learning, interested in being engaged with you. This is what I referred to last week, and I'll continue to expand upon the understanding of what is a rich language environment. It's when you use language to explain your everyday activities and keeping them involved with you. You're mapping their native language, their native tongue, because they come into this world, like I've shared before, that we refer as citizens of the universe, citizens of the world. They could learn any language. You just happen to speak English or French or German. Your child is wiring their brain with their primary language. So, focus on the nouns and the verbs. Verbs or action words are very powerful. Building their understanding so they can follow simple directions, building their concepts. And we'll talk about how all of this is done. But some of your everyday routines will help them build organizational skills, build the understanding of sequencing and how something comes first. And then we do the next step, and then we do the next step, and then we're done. And it's a process, right? So I'm just going to share today 3 everyday routines that you and I have to do, whether we like it or not, or every week, that we can get our toddler, whether they're 1 year old or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, preschooler as well, involved. But if you start early, then they can build their skills and learn through everyday activities with you in the director's seat, right? So the 3 areas that I have always focused on are laundry, grocery shopping, and cooking. And I know involving your kids in things that seem rushed all the time or seem like they can pile up quickly can drive you crazy. But the more you help use their everyday routine, the more they're going to learn, first of all, and build a relationship with you, but also build their independence. And again, let's think long term. We like it when they're 6 or 7 to be able to help you set the table independently, or scrape the dishes, or unload the dishwasher, or, sort their own laundry. Not that they have to do it at 6 or 7, but with every phase, they're going to be a little bit more helpful. And I think, by 10 or 12, kids should be doing their own laundry. But it starts early. And we use these everyday routines to build the language. And language also includes attention and understanding and memory and organization and structure and all of those kinds of things. We learn through language, and in order to acquire language, then you have to put all of these sounds that come out of my mouth and apply them to the three-dimensional world, right? What are we doing? What are we going to do? What happened? Let's plan this. Let's talk about this. Let's share this, whether we're playing or cooking or cleaning. So laundry is great because you can build all kinds of wonderful, rich language concepts and directions. Hey, Joey, please give me that green sock over there. The green sock, it's under the couch. Or you can give them directions like put all the shirts in the basket, all the shirts. And so you're building the concepts, green and sock and under, and also all or none or all or one, right? Gather all up the shirts and differentiating between a shirt and pants or shirts and pajamas. And so you're building their vocabulary, put them in the basket versus out of the basket. Let's take them out. Let's put them in the washing machine. You're also building all kinds of different concepts from, you can look at colors, you can look at sizes, long and short. You can look at, let's sort. These are all daddy's socks. These are all, your socks, Bobby's socks. You're helping them build and acquire concepts, short, long, big, little, dirty, clean, wet, dry. And you can have a wealth of learning experiences with laundry. And then you can show them the steps of running a load, right? First, we put the clothes in the big bin, whether it's a top load or a front load. And then we, pour the soap, and that there's a sequence. There's the first, next, and final. Then we shut the lid, and then you say, okay, it's going to take 20 minutes, 25 minutes. We can put on a timer, or we can hear the ding, 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 ding. Some machines have a little bell when it's ready, right? And then when you hear that 20 minutes later, I heard the ding. What do we do? What do we do? It's all done. They're all clean, but look, they're wet. What do we do to make them dry? Put them in the dryer. So you're helping them with simple, concrete language. Like I said last week, when it comes to modeling, you don't have to explain how the wash machine works. It's just really concrete, short phrases, 2 to 3 words, actions and nouns, and some concepts. So you can do that with everyday tasks, right? Laundry. Now, grocery shopping is always has always been one of my favorites. Helping them connect with the events around them and increase their awareness, building attention, building interest, building engagement. So you can do things depending on their age, but you can make a list. You can have a real list and then give them their list, right? And when you plan like grocery shopping, sometimes, you have to do a whole week, and then that's a different experience. But if you're just running to the store for a few items or something special, maybe, you ran out of dish soap or ran out of milk and, need some butter, but you can use this opportunity to bring your toddler with you, make a short list, build their vocabulary. Grocery stores are incredibly well organized and they're fairly consistent, right? You have all the produce and meat and quote unquote real food around the peripheral edge. And then those aisles are different. I say stay out of the aisles as much as possible, but if you need to get cleaning supplies, okay, they're all down this aisle. These are all things we clean our house with or clean our bodies with. And, and these are all canned goods, and you help them see and understand and appreciate how the world is organized, has some kind of order, even though it's kind of organized chaos. But the grocery store is a wonderful learning environment. And then you bring them home and they help you put the things away, right? This is soap. It goes under the sink, or this is soap. It goes in the bathroom, right? And you can help them, soap we don't eat. It's for cleaning. And help them understand how your home is then organized. And ultimately, if you want that 10-year-old to help you clean the house or help you do the laundry or help you clean the dishes, then they have years and years experience. So using the grocery store or laundry really builds a lot of natural opportunity to model for them, to get them engaged, to help them listen, code language, follow directions, be patient, right? We have to wait in line. And in regards to grocery shopping, I'll just connect these two thoughts. And I've said this before, but I know it's really hard. Please, please, please do not give your toddler a screen, a device, your phone or a pad while you're grocery shopping. You're just blowing it all out of whack. And one, they don't need that device. They need to be engaged with you. And yes, grocery shopping can be very, very stressful. I understand that. Trust me. But it can also be part of your natural routine, each and every week. And they can become part of it, that they can share in that experience and learn why you're doing what you're doing. Because then when you bring the food home, then you're going to make a meal together. And that's my next everyday routine is about cooking. Right? And again, you can start when they're 2 and simple and easy. Cut up the apple together. This is what we bought at the grocery store. It was all with the fruits and you see the connection. Now we're going to, wash it and cut it and sit down and eat together. But cooking is, again, another everyday thing that you can slowly but surely pull your baby, your toddler, your preschooler, your, elementary kid into that realm, into that sphere. Keep it simple at first. Like I said, it's just about sharing an apple. Or maybe you can help them follow simple directions, right? If you're going to make some muffins or something, okay, let's open up the box. Let's see, what do we need? We need an egg. We need some oil. Let's get them out. Where do we keep eggs? We bought eggs at the grocery store. We brought them home. Where are they? In the fridge. And you're helping them connect their life. And so, again, start with hand over hand. Keep it simple. You can use simple, like making muffins out of a box. If you're, a baker and you bake from scratch, you can slowly but surely incorporate them in that process too. But you can make it simple by making a toast or making a sandwich together. Scramble some eggs, fry some eggs if you're good at that. Making meatballs, but again, get them involved with healthy eating and healthy food. You can make individual pizzas, out of little breads or individual pizza doughs. You can even roll your own dough. Get them involved. If you want them to be a healthy eater, then to be able to touch and feel their food, to understand that it came from the grocery store and here's our directions and this is what we do. And sometimes we can be creative, like with a pizza or with a taco. And sometimes you have to, with baking, we have to follow the steps. First, we make our dry ingredients, then we mix our wet ingredients, and then we put them together. There are steps. But you can make all kinds of wonderful first meals together, tacos, or mix up some dips, and then we can, cut up some veggies and dip it in. Look, we made it together. And they're so delighted to be with you, to share with you, to learn with you, and you are their most primary and most beloved influencer. So let's do a recap, because I know you're thinking, oh gosh, how can I get them involved? It's going to be messy. It's going to be hard. I need to check off things off my to-do list. My house is already in shambles. I get it. I know it's a lot easier just to get them things for them efficiently. It's faster, it's neater, but they need to learn how to use communication to ask, to inquire, to communicate, to negotiate, right? Oh, I want a snack, but it's not snack time. And in 10 minutes, we're going to sit down together and have lunch and help them build that tolerance and help them know that their day is structured, that there's purpose, there's some kind of routine. And you can help me, prepare the lunch. You can help me go wash your hands and get ready and understand that everything isn't just immediate gratification through your guidance. And modeling isn't just for speech and talking. It's with doing too. Shopping, laundry, cooking, cleaning, organizing, putting clothes away. Oh, look, this is the drawer where all of your pajamas go, and help them associate, not just labeling things, but how it's integrated in the real three-dimensional world in their life. So modeling is also doing things with them with rich language. And yes, being a mom of one toddler, let alone 2 or 3 kids, is messy. Period. The end. I've shared with you before, I'm one of 9. I'm the 7th of 9. Our house was always disorganized. We had moments of clarity when we would all do our chores, and then it would be messy. So I get that. And even, with my one child, kids are messy, and we're striving for order. We're looking for some kind of routine, but those first few years, those first several years, it's going to be a messy job. And we just have to step into that and be comfortable with being uncomfortable in our mess. I'm not saying a pigsty, but I'm saying the more that we help guide our kids through those early years, the more they can become an active member of our family when they're 4, 5, 6, and beyond. And lots of parents will, feel like, oh, other people or other family members are going to judge you when they walk into your house. I have a sweet, sweet neighbor with 2 little kids. To me, her house was always organized and clean, but she'd always say, don't judge, before she'd let me walk in. Who cares? Be real. It's your home, and if there's a lot of love and a lot of creativity and a lot of flow of life, then it's real. It's a home versus a house, right? You've heard all that before. But also be patient with yourself. It takes time to teach kids. It takes time for them to build their skills and to help. And when you walk into their bedroom, they have dirty clothes on the floor, and you say to the 4-year-old, where do they go? They know because they've experienced it with you over and over again. Pick up all your dirty clothes, and then we can go to the park. So it's a process. Be patient with yourself and be patient with them. And be creative. And part of my list, my 12 steps here, my easy tips to increase talking and listening and engagement, I'll throw that in there, but is to be creative. And one of them is as it relates to, say cooking and cleaning in the kitchen, maybe giving them their own mixing bowls, right? That are safe and sound, helping them, maybe with a lower cupboard, lots of parents. And, you do put those locks on some of the places that you don't want your kids to get into. But kids like to open and close drawers and open, close cupboards, then assign them. These are all your cooking stuff, with some Tupperware and some plastic bowls and some wooden utensils that are unbreakable and safe for them to participate. And, they could be mixing over here, kind of a creative mess over here that's not really dinner, and then they could feel like they're participating. And a side note are high chairs or chairs that kids can step up on right at the counter. And so I know it's a personal choice, but I do recommend a couple of different high chairs, and it's part of the discussion of getting them engaged with mealtime. And I do have, if you go back to episodes number 7 and 8, where I talk at length about how eating and speech development are connected, the motor as well as the language and learning piece. And then episode number 9, I talk all about chewing. And so I always recommend, similar to car seats and strollers, that parents be open to an investment in a really, really good high chair, one that can grow with the kids and grow with their activities. And, keep in mind that, it is an investment, but look at the safety and the peace of mind. That it's a stable piece of furniture, because sitting upright at the table with you or standing at the countertop with you helps them with attention and engagement with the family, right? That eye-to-eye contact. They can see your face. They can follow your gestures and your facial expressions. They can put it all together in that 3-dimensional world. And then sitting at that high chair at the table with you, they're ready to eat. They're supported. They're comfortable. In one of my episodes, I always give the example of, if you ever sit up at a high table or at a bar, and there's no place to rest your feet, and it's uncomfortable and it's hard, and the geometry just doesn't work with the tabletop, and you don't enjoy yourself, right? And that's the same with your baby and toddler and preschooler. High chair investments also help with the whole baby-led weaning, and I include that in previous episodes, in episode 7 or 8, but I'm definitely going to talk more upon that and expand. But chewing, baby-led weaning, and then what are we doing here, right? We're building healthy eating habits. We're building a healthy relationship with food and family and social connection. So it's all interwoven. As I said, it's the whole child, it's the whole family. And it's, even though we like to separate and compartmentalize motor movement and speech and language and walking and talking and reading and writing, it's all connected. It's a sensory processing system. It's a human being, right? That's what we're doing. We're building human beings. So we will continue this list of 12 easy tips to help increase your toddler's talking and listening at home with you, with your guidance, with your love, with your direction. Next week, we'll continue, because I do want to dive deep into many of them. And this week, I really wanted to share that you don't make everything easily accessible with them, right? Help them buy into the system, that there's an interaction, and verbal communication takes a little work, but they can do it. Include your kids in everyday routines. And this, I could do a whole episode or a whole series of episodes, right? Of how do we take everyday routines, not only play routines when it's all about them, right? And being playful, but it's your life in the home, right? In your family, in your everyday jobs, right? Or tasks or chores, and how do you help kids become an integral part of your family system? And so I gave you 3, laundry, grocery shopping, and cooking. Cleaning is also another big one, but I really wanted to give you good examples of how to really do that and let go of, being so organized and being neat and tidy. You'll have moments of that, but it's about helping them learn how to be an active member. And so next week we'll continue with this list, and I'm just so grateful for sharing your precious time once again with Talking Toddlers. I'm Erin Heyer from Higher Learning. And if you're finding benefit with these episodes, please share with your friends and families as well as your colleagues. Also, hit the like button. Help me really extend my reach, connect new moms from all around the world. I'm on a mission to reach 10,000 new moms in this new year. 2023 is just right around the corner. Subscribe. You don't want to miss any episodes, and you want to be the first to hear of my new programs that I'm going to launch over the next few months. It's very exciting. I'm really ready for Higher Learning to move into this online space to really help more and more new moms, new dads, new educators too, because I think it's very limited educational experience. The schools kind of teach educators how to manage the classroom and how to look at curriculum and all of that. You need to really embrace what you're building, that human relationship and that engagement, and helping that child the best you can in an active environment. But right now I'm kind of focusing my episodes on those new moms, those new dads, new families that are really looking for guidance so that they can be in charge, that they can really understand the importance of their time at each and every phase, when they're newborns and that first year of life, through their toddlership, and then preschools. And I'm here. You've got this. I'm here to help you take charge, and I'll do it with you. All right. So thanks again for sharing, and bless you all, and have a great, I think this episode is going to be launched on Thanksgiving week. So please have a beautiful, beautiful Thanksgiving with your family and your precious, precious children. Okay. God bless. Bye-bye.